think if you want to bring a new technology into a company, it's always critical that you are a proactive and vocal sponsor of it. My name is Marc van Huet, CFO of Calor Ireland since July 23, so almost 3 years by now. And in that role, really looking at the finance team, of course, to how enable them in a better way to support the business. In terms of Calor Ireland as a business, we obviously supply LPG to end consumers across the island. That can be in canisters, in simple cylinders as such for barbecue and leisure usage, but also in big tanks in the back of restaurants and industry large. What makes it complex, I think, well, these days in terms of the uncertainty and about the commodity market, that is something which makes it absolutely not the easiest business. At the same time, I also like to not overcomplicate it. At the end of the day, we bring products from A to B, and we are a distribution business in that sense. My role as CFO is basically sponsor of many things, more than finance. It goes from legal to procurement to safety. But if we zoom in at finance itself, I think what changed is that in the past, you see that it was mainly as a reporting tool as such and reporting unit. Whereas now we really move to proactive business partnering and strategic advisory by the finance team. One of the things in Ireland is that when I arrived, there was no FP&A team. At the moment, we have an FP&A team of 4 people who are supporting actively and proactively the business in achieving the best possible results. I think the future of finance is you do indeed more with less. You focus with your team on the value-adding tasks. So you eliminate manual processes, you eliminate non-value adding tasks, which are sometimes very straightforward things to say, but it takes an awful lot of time, especially in established businesses, to eliminate those and to really shift from that, what does not add value to the business, to what does add value to the business. And then you see that you really become a business partner and a strategic advisor for the business, and basically a key enabler of the strategy. I believe that the process mining provides us a roadmap to achieve the future of finance, because it shows where are your pain points. It's basically one big Pareto analysis and allows you to see where to start first. One of the things which I didn't project at the start of doing process mining, that would be one of our key sources of waste would be our way we do our dunning process. That would not have been the area where I would have started if that was not indicated as such in the whole process mining journey with Apolix. I think you risk the fact that if you do not do process mining, that you end up fixing a problem which may be not even a problem. And it's very natural. You think that certain areas could be the source of a problem or the reason for an issue, and if you then use that assumption and that conclusion you made yourself or with your team without a data-driven approach underneath it, you run the risk that you don't fix it at the source and that you don't have a proper framework applied to that what your process is, and that you are in the end still will be very inefficient in the way you work. What Apolix brought for Calor Ireland is, I think, a purpose for the team as such to really move from, well, a legacy approach which was there for years to an updated approach in which they are better empowered to collect debt. Because we started with our DSO, with our accounts receivable, and by implementing a control tower, by really listening to their day-to-day challenges, we have been in a position to also automate numerous things to make their lives better, and to ensure that they chase the debt and focus on the activities that really bring cash in, which in today's world is a critical aspect of doing business, managing your working capital. I think our inefficient dunning process, given the scope, what we looked at with Apolix is our dunning process. The way we set that up, probably the eye-opener in how inefficient we were doing that. That is something we definitely changed since we used process mining and identified the opportunities to do things more efficient. I think if you want to bring a new technology into a company, it's always critical that you are a proactive and vocal sponsor of it. You need to be visible and also be able to cope with feedback, the direct feedback from colleagues who are in the first instance resistant to change or resistant to a new way of working. So it's important to be visible and to really drive the change as such. One or two key stakeholders, obviously, given that we're talking about data and the importance of data to make this a success, is from the start to have IT involved, of course, to make sure that the data is available. I think as a sponsor, to be visible, it means that you are actively joining meetings about the introduction of a new tool, the rationale why. And that can be as simple as the first 15 minutes of a meeting to explain why, listen to the initial feedback, but also give the team then the space to think about it and discuss it amongst themselves to see how would they embed this and then come back in a day or 2 days' time to discuss it again. Just give them the freedom as well to suggest the approach and the changes to their ways of working, to also drive ownership across the company. I think in terms of adoption, what you need to do is to make things visible. Dashboards, screens on the wall, really showcase the improvements that it brings. We use performance control systems in Calor to really on a weekly basis monitor the impact of, this project, for example, but plenty of projects across the business. And in that way, we are able to monitor improvements and changes throughout and showcase that it brings value to the business. And then it starts to come alive for the people within the business, and that is always encouraging when you see that you are making a benefit to the company that drives momentum. What I would foresee is that you have further automation, further AI agents rolled out throughout your process to really ensure that your day-to-day work is driven by the data underlying so that you can focus on that. What is the most urgent or the most value-driven task at the present? We're not there yet. We are in a journey, and that probably will take a year or two before we have our first process so mature as we want.